somewhere in a data center you'll never see. A three-digit number attached to your name is quietly deciding things about your life before you've made a single decision yourself. What interest rate you'll pay on a car, whether a landlord asks for 1 month's deposit or three, whether a mortgage costs you an extra $50,000 over its lifetime without you ever missing a single payment. That number runs from 300 to 850. Almost nobody outside the lending industry knows exactly where the real thresholds sit, and almost everybody finds out the hard way, at the worst possible moment, sitting across from a loan officer, watching a number on a screen decide something you assumed was still up for negotiation. Here's what makes this particular ladder different from most. It isn't about how much money you have right now. It's about a specific, narrow kind of trust, whether you've historically paid back what you borrowed on time without drama. Two people with the identical income, the identical savings account, the identical job can be offered two completely different financial lives based entirely on this one invisible number. One of them pays a car loan rate in the single digits. The other pays a rate that would make a credit card blush. This is every level of the credit score, from the bottom rung where nearly 1 in 7 Americans currently sit, up to the rarefied tier where less than 2% of the entire country lives. The real thresholds, the real rate differences, and the real dollar cost of every single rung on this ladder. Before climbing it, it's worth knowing what the number is actually built from, because almost nobody does. Payment history, whether you paid on time, makes up 35% of it, the single largest slice. Amounts owed, meaning how much of your available credit you're actually using, makes up another 30%. The remaining 35% splits between the length of your credit history, how much new credit you've recently opened, and the mix of account types you carry. Two of those 5 categories, combined, decide nearly 2/3 of where you land on this entire ladder. If a number this powerful, this invisible, and this rarely explained properly is worth actually understanding before it costs you something, a subscribe means you don't have to find any of this out the hard way. It's a small click, and it genuinely helps. At the very bottom of the ladder sits the range lenders call poor, anywhere from 300 to 579. And as of the most recent industry data, roughly 15% of Americans currently live somewhere on this rung. That's not a fringe statistic. That's tens of millions of people navigating the entire financial system from its least forgiving starting position. The consequences here aren't subtle. On a new car loan, someone in this range is currently looking at an average interest rate of just over 16%, compared to under 5% for a borrower at the very top of the ladder. The exact same car, the exact same dealership, financed at more than 3 times the rate. Used car loans are worse still, with deep subprime borrowers seeing rates climb past 21% in some cases. A mortgage at this level isn't just expensive. For most conventional lenders, it isn't available at all. The standard minimum threshold most banks require even starts to open up considerably higher than this range tops out. It shows up in places that have nothing to do with borrowing money directly, too. A landlord reviewing an application at this level will often ask for extra months of security deposit on top of the standard one, treating the number as a stand-in for risk before ever meeting the actual person attached to it. None of this is a moral judgment the system is making. It's a probability calculation run cold at scale across millions of accounts. And at this rung, the math says charge more, ask for more upfront, approve less. Climb into the range officially labeled fair, spanning 580 to 669. And the system starts treating you as what the industry bluntly calls near prime, better than subprime, nowhere near the rates reserved for the top of the ladder. This is also, not coincidentally, right around where the real gatekeeping thresholds actually live. 620 is the number most conventional mortgage lenders quietly require just to get in the door at all, regardless of what the official 5-tier chart says about where fair begins and ends. At this level, a new car loan averages somewhere in the high single digits to low double digits, depending on exactly where in the range you land, meaningfully better than the bottom rung. Still nowhere close to what the top of the ladder pays for financing the identical vehicle. You're no longer locked out of the system. You're paying a premium to be let back in. What's strange about this rung is how invisible the internal cutoffs are to the person actually standing on it. Nobody tells you that 620 unlocks conventional mortgage eligibility, or that 640 might unlock a meaningfully better auto rate than 610 did. The official chart shows one smooth range labeled fair. The actual lending system underneath it is a series of specific undisclosed tripwires, each one quietly changing your terms, none of them explained to you before you cross them. There's one lever at this rung that's entirely within your control, and almost nobody explains it clearly. The 30% rule. Using more than roughly 30% of your available credit on any card, even if you pay the full balance every single month, tends to quietly suppress this exact score. Not because you're in danger of missing a payment, but because the utilization ratio itself is part of that 30% slice of the formula, measured at whatever moment your balance happens to get reported, regardless of what you do with it 3 days later. Cross 670, and you've entered the range officially called good, and you're no longer alone out here. As of the most recent data, roughly 70% of Americans now carry a score of 670 or higher, which means this rung is where the actual statistical middle of the country's creditworthiness lies, even though the official range extends well above it. This is also where the visible, day-to-day friction of the system starts to disappear. A landlord reviewing your application at this level typically asks for the standard deposit. 1 month's rent, nothing extra, rather than the additional 10 to 25% tacked on below $700. Credit card offers start including real reward structures instead of the secured fee-heavy products aimed at the tiers below. You stop feeling like the system is bracing itself against you. What you don't yet get at this rung is the best version of anything. The mortgage rate available here is a real workable rate, not the rate reserved for the tier just above you, the one that can mean tens of thousands of dollars less in lifetime interest on an identical loan amount. Good turns out to be a slightly uncomfortable label for a rung that's better described as no longer being punished, but not yet being rewarded either. Credit cards make this especially visible, because the same plastic rectangle carries a different number depending entirely on which rung applied for it. Cards marketed toward this exact range average somewhere between 21 and 24% APR, compared to roughly 17% for the tier above and well past 27% for the one below. The card itself doesn't change. The interest rate printed on the identical piece of plastic is simply a direct readout of which rung you were standing on the day you applied. At 740, you cross into the range labeled very good, and this is where the auto lending industry's own internal label changes from near prime to simply prime. 661 to 780 is the specific band most lenders use internally, meaning a chunk of this rung actually starts a little below the official 740 mark. Another one of the quiet mismatches between the public 5-tier chart and the private thresholds actually running the system. At this level, new car financing averages somewhere around 6.27%, a real, tangible improvement over every rung below it. Mortgages start behaving differently here too. Lenders commonly price loans in the 720 to 750 band about an eighth to a quarter of a percentage point higher than the tier just above 760, which sounds small until you multiply it across a 30-year loan on a few $100,000, at which point it becomes a genuinely large number, quietly extracted over 3 decades for the crime of being merely very good instead of exceptional. If a ladder like this, one where a single invisible number this precisely determines outcomes most people never see coming, is useful to understand before you're standing at a loan desk finding out the hard way, a subscribe helps more people see it ahead of time, no pressure. But I genuinely appreciate it. What's notable at this rung is how close it sits to the top without actually being the top. You're doing everything right. You're still, in the system's own internal math, one tier away from the rate that would save you the most money of all. Proof that on this particular ladder, very good and as good as it gets are two entirely different addresses. At the very top of the ladder sits the range labeled exceptional, 800 to 850, and as of the most recent data, roughly 24% of Americans, close to 1 in 4, now live somewhere in this tier, a share that has quietly grown even as the middle of the distribution has shrunk. Fewer people are stuck in the murky middle. More people are sorting into either this top rung or the bottom one, a genuinely lopsided shape to the country's creditworthiness that most people have never seen visualized. This is where the super prime label kicks in for auto lending. Anything above 781, with average new car rates sitting around 4.66%, more than 11 full percentage points below the deep subprime rate at the bottom of this same ladder, on the identical car from the identical dealer. On mortgages, a borrower at 800 was recently pricing around 6.41%, compared to roughly 6.91% for someone at 700. Half a point that, on a $300,000 loan held to term, adds up to tens of thousands of dollars nobody at the 700 tier ever sees itemized anywhere. Even within this rarefied tier, there's one more rung almost nobody reaches: the perfect 850. As of the most recent count, only about 1.76% of all U.S. consumers currently hold it, meaning the gap between exceptional and perfect is itself its own small, mostly symbolic ladder, one that stops mattering financially somewhere well before it actually reaches the top. You think back to the number you started this video not knowing, the one sitting quietly in a file somewhere, deciding things about your life you assumed were still open to negotiation. You now know where the real tripwires sit. 580, 620, 670, 740, 800, each one changing your terms a little more, none of them explained to you in advance by anyone with a reason to make the system easier to navigate. You also understand now why some people seem stuck on a rung for years longer than seems fair. A late payment stays on a credit report for 7 years from the date it happened, regardless of whether it gets paid off the following week. A Chapter 7 bankruptcy stays for 10. The ladder doesn't just measure your current behavior, it's dragging a rolling 7 to 10 year window behind it at all times, which means a single bad year in your 20s can still be quietly taxing your interest rate well into your 30s, long after the actual mistake stopped meaning anything about who you are now. What you also know now is how little any of this has to do with how much money moves through your life. A person earning $200,000 a year who pays everything late sits below a person earning $40,000 a year who never misses a due date. The latter measures one specific behavior: repayment, on time, over years, and nothing else about you at all. It doesn't know your income. It doesn't know your net worth. It only knows whether you've historically done the one thing you said you'd do when you said you'd do it. And there's a quiet asterisk sitting on top of this entire ladder that almost nobody mentions. Some of the wealthiest households in the country barely register on it at all. Not because they're bad at managing money, but because they've simply opted out of the game this specific number measures. Paying cash, holding assets instead of debt, never needing a lender's permission for anything in the first place. The ladder you just climbed is real, and it matters enormously for almost everyone standing on it. It's just not the only ladder in the building. If you followed this ladder from 300 all the way to 850, you've probably already started wondering about that asterisk from the last section. The households wealthy enough that this entire system barely applies to them, who sidestep borrowing altogether rather than climbing the score that governs it. That's a different kind of wealth entirely, and we've already mapped it. Watch our episode on old money. It picks up almost exactly where this one leaves off, at the point where a family stops needing anyone's permission to borrow, because they never needed to borrow in the first place.